In the arid expanse of New Austin, specifically crossing Challa Springs and Gaptooth Ridge, railroad tracks carve a path through the harsh desert landscape. These tracks represent the relentless push of industry into the untamed frontier. They traverse dusty plains, skirt towering mesas, and bridge deep canyons, providing a crucial but dangerous link across this bandit-haunted territory. Key stops along this desolate line include the struggling towns of Armadillo and Tumbleweed. The train running these desert routes is the same sturdy coal-fired steam locomotive found elsewhere in the game. Its significance lies in its isolation and vulnerability within this vast emptiness. Hauling freight and passengers through the open wilderness, it becomes a prime target for outlaw ambushes, a core activity for players. Robbing this train feels uniquely perilous due to the exposed terrain offering little cover. Seeing its smoke plume rise against the backdrop of the desolate red rock landscape powerfully symbolizes the fragile reach of civilization into the Wild West. The train car rattles steadily beneath you, a persistent metallic rhythm against the absolute silence pressing in from the vastness outside. Through the grimy window, the desert unfolds, immense and ancient. It is a landscape sculpted by relentless sun and unforgiving wind, a sea of ochre, sienna, and burnt umber stretching to horizons blurred by heat haze. Rolling dunes of pale sand give way abruptly to vast, cracked flats, the earth split into geometric patterns like a shattered clay pot baked under a kiln sun. Scrub brush dots the lower ground, stubborn tufts of gray-green life clinging to the parched soil. The sheer scale is humbling, a reminder of nature's indifferent power. Distance is deceptive. A mesa that seems a short ride away takes hours to approach, the train crawling like an insect across the immense canvas. The air shimmers above the ground, distorting the shapes of distant crags and making the horizon itself seem to waver and dissolve. The desert is not flat. It rises and falls in great swells, punctuated by dramatic sentinels of stone. High hills, baked a deep, rusty red, rear up suddenly from the plains, their slopes steep and often sheer. Weathered mesas stand like colossal tables, their flat tops seemingly sliced off by some giant hand, layered bands of sedimentary rock telling millennia of geological history in shades of red, orange, and yellow. Tumbled boulders, some as large as houses, litter the bases of these formations, having rolled down over centuries. Strange hoodoos and balanced rocks defy gravity, sculpted by wind and sand into fantastical shapes, a crouching beast here, a crumbling spire there. The train navigates passes between these giants, offering fleeting glimpses into shadowed canyons where the sun rarely penetrates. The rock faces are pitted and scarred, bearing the marks of erosion like battle wounds. In the late afternoon sun, these high hills and rock formations glow with an internal fire, casting long, deep purple shadows that stretch across the desert floor. Life here is tenacious, a testament to adaptation in the harshest conditions. The dominant flora is the prickly pear cactus, its fleshy pads a vibrant green against the dusty earth, adorned with clusters of fierce spines and, occasionally, bright red fruit. Yucca plants spear upwards with their rigid, sword-like leaves, crowned by tall stalks of creamy white flowers when the season is right. Creosote bushes spread low, their small, waxy leaves releasing that distinctive, pungent, rain-sweet scent after the rare downpour. Brittlebush dots the landscape with silvery foliage and bursts of yellow daisy-like flowers. Thorny acacia and mesquite trees cluster in washes and arroyos, finding precious moisture deep underground. Even the seemingly barren rocks host hardy lichens in splotches of orange and gray. This vegetation is sparse, each plant an oasis of life fiercely guarding its territory against the sun and the dry wind, creating a mosaic of green and gray on the endless tan and red canvas rolling past the window. The sky above the desert is rarely empty. Turkey vultures are the constant lords of the thermals, their broad wings tilting effortlessly as they ride the rising hot air, dark silhouettes against the blinding blue, endlessly searching the vast expanse below for carrion. Ravens, glossy black and raucous, flap purposefully between rock outcrops or perch watchfully on the twisted limbs of dead mesquite trees. Occasionally, the sharp cry of a red-tailed hawk pierces the air as it circles high above, eyeing potential prey in the sparse brush below. Smaller birds, like cactus wrens or Gambel's quail, are harder to spot from the moving train, but flashes of movement near the ground or quick darts between thorny cover hint at their presence. As the train passes near a rare water source, a thin, muddy creek or a stagnant pond, the sight of a great blue heron standing statue still in the shallows, or a covey of quail exploding from cover near the tracks, provides a sudden burst of life. The insect world thrives unseen in the dust at your feet, but evidence of its existence is visible. Columns of large black harvester ants march diligently across the sandy soil between trackside rocks, carrying seeds many times their size back to their underground colonies. Shiny black beetles, like miniature tanks, trundle purposefully across the open ground, seemingly indifferent to the colossal machine rumbling past. Flies, drawn by the train itself or the scent of life in the desert, buzz lazily against the window glass. Near patches of flowering cacti or creosote, especially after rain, you might catch the fleeting metallic flash of a bee or the erratic dance of small butterflies, tiny jewels against the vast, arid backdrop. Dragonflies, agile and shimmering, patrol the airspace above any standing water the train passes, their presence a brief, vibrant counterpoint to the stillness. Larger fauna is more elusive but profoundly shapes the desert's character. A flash of tan and white disappears behind a boulder, a desert cottontail rabbit. A roadrunner, unmistakable with its long tail and crest, darts with incredible speed across the tracks ahead, low to the ground. The mournful howl of a coyote might drift on the evening air, a sound that seems to belong intrinsically to this landscape. Near rocky outcrops, the alert forms of pronghorn antelope might be seen, their white rumps flashing as they bound away from the train's intrusion. Bighorn sheep are rare, majestic sightings, sometimes spotted precariously perched on the highest, most inaccessible cliffs. Look closely near sun-warmed rocks, and you might see the sinuous movement of a lizard, a collared lizard with bright markings, or a swift whiptail, basking or hunting insects. The warning rattle is rarely heard from the train, but the knowledge that sidewinders and diamondbacks coil unseen in the shade adds an edge of primal awareness to the view. Human settlements in this vastness feel like precarious footholds. Towns like Armadillo or Tumbleweed appear suddenly, clusters of low, sun-bleached wooden buildings huddled together against the emptiness. They look weary, coated in a perpetual layer of fine, red dust that settles on every porch railing and window sill. Buildings are simple, functional: saloons, general stores, stables, a sheriff's office, often showing signs of neglect or harsh weather. Windmills turn slowly, creaking as they draw precious water from deep wells. Corrals hold a few dusty horses. People move slowly in the heat, figures diminished by the scale around them. Laundry hangs limply on lines, struggling against the dry wind. These are places of survival, not comfort, their isolation palpable even from the passing train. They seem transient, as if the desert could reclaim them with a single, sustained breath of wind. The train stations themselves are vital lifelines in this isolation. They are simple structures. A single-story wooden depot building, often with a covered platform to offer scant shade. A water tower stands nearby, crucial for replenishing the steam locomotive's thirst. A small freight shed might sit adjacent, piled with crates and sacks awaiting collection or shipment, supplies from the civilized world, or ore and pelts heading out. The station master, a figure in a dusty uniform, might be seen checking a pocket watch or making notes on a clipboard. A few benches sit empty under the sun. Wagons sometimes wait nearby, hitched to tired horses, their drivers seeking respite or awaiting goods. The station is a brief, human punctuation mark in the wilderness, a point of connection and departure, its presence announced by the telegraph wires strung alongside the tracks, humming faintly with unseen messages. And at the heart of many of these struggling towns, often sharing a wall with the general store or situated within the train depot building itself, is the post office. It's rarely grand, perhaps just a counter and a wall of small, brass-fronted pigeonholes behind a barred window inside the station or a dedicated corner of another building. A simple sign, faded by the sun, declares its purpose. This is the fragile nerve center connecting this remote corner to the wider world. Letters, Newspapers and packages arrive sporadically by train, sorted by the station agent or a dedicated postmaster. For the residents, it represents hope, news from family far away, legal documents, orders from catalogs, perhaps a long-awaited letter. The arrival of the train brings a small flurry of activity focused here, people gathering in hope of receiving word. It symbolizes the thin thread of communication and community that binds these scattered lives together against the overwhelming silence and distance of the desert. The sight of the mail sacks being unloaded or loaded is a ritual of connection in a land defined by separation. The train plunges into the desert night, its rhythmic clatter now a solitary intrusion in an immense, silent void. The oppressive heat of day lifts, replaced by a startling chill that seeps through the window glass. Outside, the world is utterly transformed. The vast, sun-scorched landscape surrenders to monochrome under the gaze of a colossal, bone-white moon. It hangs low and heavy, casting sharp, ink-black shadows that stretch like fingers across the bleached earth. Rolling dunes become frozen silver waves. High mesas and hoodoos, red by day, now stand as stark, charcoal-gray sentinels against the luminous sky, their jagged profiles etched with startling clarity. The cracked flats shimmer faintly, like fields of crushed ice. Every rock, every thorny bush, is rendered in stark contrasts of brilliant silver and absolute black. The air is crystalline, sharp enough to cut, amplifying the train's own sounds and the profound stillness it disrupts. Distance becomes even more immense, the horizon a blurred line swallowed by the dark. Under this spectral moonlight, the desert floor awakens with a different, secretive pulse. This is the domain of the night crawlers. Large, hairy wolf spiders emerge from burrows or crevices in the rocks, their multiple eyes catching the moonlight like tiny beads as they stalk across the sand. Scorpions, their armored bodies gleaming faintly, move with a slow, deliberate menace, their curled tails held high, sensitive to the faintest vibration the train sends through the earth. Centipedes, long and sinuous, flow like liquid shadows over stones and through sparse grass. Beetles, unseen by day, become miniature tanks navigating the lunar landscape, their hard carapaces reflecting the moon's cold light. Crickets begin their rhythmic chirping from hidden nooks, a constant, dry soundtrack beneath the train's rumble. Moths, drawn by the train's own lamps, flutter erratically against the windows, pale ghosts in the night. The ground itself seems to subtly shift and writhe with these small, armored lives once the sun's tyranny ends. The larger creatures of the desert adopt a new rhythm under the moon. The mournful howl of a coyote pack echoes across the flats, a primal sound that sends chills down the spine, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Their lean forms might be glimpsed momentarily, slinking between patches of shadow, eyes reflecting the moonlight like green gold embers before vanishing. Kangaroo rats, tiny and quick, bound erratically from one patch of cover to another, their large hind legs propelling them in silent leaps, pausing only to dig for seeds with frantic paws. Owls, silent hunters, glide low over the scrub on broad wings, their heads swiveling, listening intently for the rustle of a rodent in the grass below. Bats flicker erratically against the star field, snatching insects drawn out by the cooler air. Near rocky outcrops, the sinuous form of a snake, perhaps a glossy black coachwhip or a patterned gopher snake, might be seen sliding over warm stones, hunting the night-active lizards and rodents. The eyes of unseen creatures glint from the darkness beside the tracks, a fleeting, unsettling reminder that you are merely passing through their realm. The towns, sparse and weary by day, become clusters of feeble defiance against the overwhelming night. Only a few windows glow with the warm, buttery light of oil lamps or candles, tiny beacons in the vast blackness. The saloon might still emit a muffled din, a tinny piano, raised voices, but it sounds small and fragile, easily swallowed by the silence pressing in from the desert. Most buildings are dark hulks, their porches deep pools of shadow. The dust that coats everything by day is invisible now, but the sense of isolation is magnified tenfold. A single lantern might swing above the door of the sheriff's office, casting a small, lonely circle of light on the dusty boardwalk. The windmill creaks with an eerie persistence. The town feels less like a settlement and more like a ship adrift on a vast, dark ocean, its few lights barely holding back the immensity. The knowledge of sickness in places like Armadillo hangs heavier in the cool, still air. The train stations are islands of stark, functional light in the oceanic dark. A single, powerful lamp mounted on the depot building casts a harsh, yellow-white circle onto the platform and the tracks, pushing back the shadows only a few yards before the desert reasserts itself. The effect is theatrical, isolating the station in a pool of light surrounded by impenetrable blackness. The water tower is a looming silhouette against the stars. The station master, if present, moves within this small sphere of illumination, checking the train's arrival with a pocket watch, his figure small and vulnerable under the vast sky. The telegraph wires hum faintly, carrying their unseen messages through the darkness. The train itself, bathed in the glow of its own headlamp cutting a tunnel of light through the night, becomes the main event, a brief, noisy, fiery interruption. Its arrival shatters the deep quiet, the hiss of steam loud and sudden, the clang of couplings echoing. Then it departs, its lights receding down the track, leaving the station's single lamp burning alone once more, a tiny, defiant spark in the infinite desert night. The silence rushes back in, deeper and more profound than before.